Before you buy the Shure MV7 microphone, you need to watch this video all the way to the end because I dropped my hard-earned dollars on it. This is not a review unit or a sponsored video, and I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons of this mic. It sounds phenomenal. For the money. It's finally created a mid-tier of microphone. Finally! We've had those lower tier microphones like Blue Yeti and below, and then we have the higher tier microphones that are $500 plus for the whole setup. Where has the mid-tier of microphones been? It finally exists right here. And because this microphone is a hybrid of USB and XLR, I'm going to do a recording test today where I run it through XLR, which is what you're listening to right now through my Rodecaster Pro, and I'm going to give you a live demo of the way it sounds through USB because it's got the Shure Motive software, which I've got set up right now for this demo for you, where it makes the USB sound phenomenal, maybe even better than the way it sounds right now through my very expensive processing through this mixer. By the end of this video, you'll have a good idea of whether this microphone is worth the extra money to move up to mid-tier microphones, or whether you want to save up just to get end-game high-tier stuff. Cool, let's go over the features first, including the ways that this microphone can be mounted. So the most popular way to mount it, which is the way I'm doing right now, is to do this top-down approach on a boom stand like this. Link in the description below to everything I'm talking about, by the way, all of the microphones and accessories, those are Amazon Associates links. But this microphone also lets you mount it from the bottom up like this, and you can use a table stand to do that if you want to put it on a table right in front of you and point it up toward you, which is pretty cool. One of the things I like about this microphone is that it has a built-in kind of windscreen on the front. It's also one of the cons at the same time. So I've got a Dyson fan going over here on this side of the room, blowing right toward the mic. And the windscreen built in on the mic eliminates that, which is great. However, if you put the mic right in front of your mouth, like literally 2 inches in front of your mouth, like eat the mic, you'll get tons of plosives with this mic. So it is not great at handling eating the mic. So you need to offset the mic, have it a little bit below or to the side of you in order to avoid those nasty plosives. So keep that in mind. The microphone also has a really cool kind of touch style control, if you will, on the top that allows you to adjust the mix between what you hear through your headphones in the microphone and what you hear in terms of your own vocals. I like being able to mix that in real time so you can choose how loud you are versus the Skype call, the Zoom call, the streaming, the game, whatever you're doing, your podcast, in real time by touching the dial on the top of the microphone. I just bumped that and you may have heard it. That's another thing I want to talk about. This microphone does not, in the mount itself, have any shock mitigation built into the actual mount. So if you knock on the table or you accidentally bump it like that, do you hear this? Probably, right? And that's because there's no shock mount built in. So I've got a shock mount right here, this one right here that I'm purchasing for the microphone that I would recommend you guys get if you want to use this microphone to eliminate the knocking on your desk, the accidental bumps on your boom arm, or the typing on your keyboard or the slamming of your mouse. The mount for this microphone does not do that. That's another con of the mounting here. And the way the microphone is built, it's very sensitive to bumps, but with a shock mount, that should be solved. But the coolest thing about this microphone is this right here. Obviously, you have a headphone jack on the bottom. That's cool. You don't need to get an extra mixer. But it's got USB and it's got XLR at the exact same time. So what that allows you to do is plug this thing into anything, any computer, any mixer, any sound system you want, just like that. Also, it allows you to have a very high quality USB sound, which you'll hear later, and then you can upgrade later on to go into end game with this microphone by getting a Rodecaster Pro mixer or some kind of other rack-based processing to make yourself sound gangster during your streams or your podcast or whatever. That's what's so incredible about this microphone that really truly creates a mid-tier of microphone now with this. It's probably better than almost any other entry-level microphone on the USB side. I can definitively say that based on my initial testing. And then you can bring it up so it can compete with the big boys on the XLR side, which makes this microphone an incredible value if you don't want to drop that $1,000 price tag overall right out the gate to go to endgame mics. Let's talk about the stand. So the stand I'm using is this Gator stand. And what's cool about it, it has a built-in XLR cable, as you can see, which gives it this nice clean look that allows you to mount it onto a table. I like that. You can also, on the stand, like I'm doing here, you can see it, you can run the USB cable along the side of it as well, with little Velcros and run both USB and XLR at the same time. I'm doing that right now. I've actually got the XLR cable on this running into this computer through this mixer. At the same time, I'm running it into this computer through the USB. It's running the signal simultaneously to two different computers at the same time. That's pretty awesome. There aren't many mics out there in this price range that can do that. We already talked about the shock mount, and what I'll show you in a moment when I turn this processing on and off is the power of having a great post-processing with a microphone like that, and the impact that post-processing can make on your final product quality, especially live. This is not an edited video. So all of the audio you're hearing here is live and can be done in a live stream, essentially. And so this mixer makes that possible. Let me just show you the side-by-side recording test right now so you can understand the impact of XLR processing versus not. So first things first, I'm going to turn off all my processing in Streamlabs OBS. Noise suppression off, compressor off, limiter off. So that's without Streamlabs processing. Now I'm going to turn the processing off in the mixer itself. And now this is the way the raw XLR sound is with no mixer processing, no Streamlabs processing. This is just the raw XLR sound. You may be able to hear a little bit of background noise, got computer fan noise here and Dyson fan here, but overall this is pretty darn clean. Pretty good, right? Let me turn the processing back on. So this is the way the processing sounds if you have the mixer processing on and also Streamlabs processing on, just basic processing, and this is the big process sound. I think the process sound sounds fantastic. It's almost as good as the Rode Procaster in my opinion, through the XLR jack. Some would argue it's cleaner. I think it almost sounds as good as a Rode Procaster. Let me turn off the processing one more time, off in the mixer, and then off in Streamlabs. And this is the way the unprocessed USB sound, or the unprocessed XLR sound is. This is unprocessed XLR, and the processing you heard a moment ago was through that mixer. So if you thought that was a big impact when I turned that on, that's the mixer that's making that happen, and that's why I have that mixer. Rode provided me that mixer for free 2 years ago, and I've recommended it to like everybody I know. Okay, cool. So now that that XLR side-by-side is complete, you've got to hear the USB. So usually USB microphones don't sound anywhere near as good as XLR processing, just because XLR processing is superior, generally speaking. But Shure has outdone themselves with the digital processing that they have built for this microphone that comes with it for free. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So right now I'm going to mute the XLR version of this. And now you're listening to me through the USB version of this, all running through what you see behind me. So right now in OBS, I have basic processing running right now, as you'll see here. I have noise suppression, compressor, and limiter. And right over here next to me, there's some Shure processing, free software that comes along with it. And I cranked up all the settings from maximum processing. I'll move out of the way. So the processing that comes with the microphone on the software side allows you to have an EQ, mic gain, you can choose your monitor mix, you can do different compression. And as you can hear, it sounds fantastic through the USB. I think it sounds fantastic. It's the best sounding USB sound I've ever heard of any microphone, period. That's my opinion. But now I'm going to turn all of this processing off as much as I can with the software running so you can hear the difference. I'm going to turn off noise suppression, off compressor, off limiter, and now I'm going to turn the compression down here, here, and I'm going to leave the gain up so I can keep the volume up. So this is the way it sounds without, oh, and let me turn the EQ to flat. There we go. This is unprocessed audio using the Shure. This is unprocessed Shure MV7 audio through the USB jack. Unprocessed audio right now. Let me go ahead and turn all the processing back on. And now all of the processing is back on the microphone. So do you hear the impact of all of that processing with this microphone through USB? It makes a huge impact in my opinion. It makes it sound fantastic. Let me just turn it off one more time so you can hear the difference. And here it is without all of that processing through the USB. The volume might be a little bit lower, but you can hear the kind of quality, the excitement that this processing provides. The EQ and the compression that Shure has built is phenomenal. So pretty impressive stuff, right? Let's go ahead and switch back to XLR. All right, so that is the Rode MV7 microphone. Link in the description below if you want to pick this up. I'll be honest with you, I very highly recommend this microphone. I just recommended it to a client on a consulting call today. It is a great mid-tier microphone that can take you end-to-end game. I think almost anybody that buys it will be happy with the sound. It is not as good as a $1,000 microphone, but it is pretty darn close to being as good as $500 or so microphones, and it's USB compatible. I gotta say, it's probably overall the best microphone package out there in a mid-tier pricing, a couple $100 pricing. I haven't seen anything out there that even is comparable to this functionality, this utility, and how much this microphone can be used across different applications. You guys make your own decision though, based on the sound that you heard today and whether your budget can handle the extra hundreds this costs on top of something like a Blue Yeti and for all the accessories and everything. You decide. Happy microphone shopping, and I hope you enjoyed.